Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
Technically not true, right? None of us have been around since Peach Baskets. I mean, Peach Baskets existed, but none of us have been around since they used Peach Baskets.
The advent of Peach Baskets.
Yeah. I'm not hearing you guys very well. Maybe that's better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We'll take care of that. Yeah, we haven't said anything important yet.
We're going to keep that the way it is. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. We just moments ago learned something we never knew about Jerry before. Jerry, right? Opened for Steve Martin.
Open for Steve Martin.
Opened for Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I just didn't. I didn't.
Well, it was a little different way of opening, and I had nothing to do with it, but that's in effect.
Other than that, what'd you do, about 30 minutes
before Steve? 1975, 6, 76 maybe, 77, I don't know.
Oh, he was huge.
They all run together at some point.
Sure.
But I was coaching at Rockhurst University at the time, and we were playing University of Missouri, Kansas City. It was their home game down in the old Municipal Auditorium. And we packed in about 1,000 for that game.
Ooh, nice.
I think most of them were our fans, actually. And we beat them.
You guys traveled well.
Yeah. We traveled well.
Yeah.
Right,
and then so
the culture.
As the game unwound, of course, Steve Martin he was really early in his career. I mean, not everybody, but he was starting to get known. And so he was having a concert after the game. And so near the end of the game, boy, the place started filling up. And so in case you needed a little reminder of your importance, so I got a little humble pie with not that I needed it, but
did you stick around for the show?
Yeah.
Huh? I did. Yeah, I did. He was great. He was great. Awesome. He was young, of course, young then, and came out with the arrow through the head and with the violin, the whole bit. He was awesome.
Yeah. And didn't people used to think you were Leslie Nielsen?
I got and Bill Murray. I get.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's occasionally,
Okay.
I know people say you look a lot like Bill Murray, and I said, well, sadly, he's aged and it's
You look better
actually,
than Bill now.
It's actually
yeah.
coming.
He
getting
wants
closer.
to look like you now. Yeah.
But Leslie Nielsen, just mainly because of the gray hair. I think. Sadly, I think I do look a little more like Bill Murray. Because Bill's not a pretty man either. You know. So
Years have not been kind to the
No,
great Bill
well,
Murray.
I mean, all of us get older. I mean, come on, Jerry.
we do.
I mean,
Well, not
had,
all.
We had vultures circling around
Not all.
outside when we were standing out there. So
Now, that is true.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, bringing that into the show,
Yeah. All right.
I'm a little
So,
worried.
hey, you know what? We've been going here through the summer and having a lot of fun here, and we appreciate your being with us. We're just weeks away from camp opening, right?
Yep.
NBA camp.
A month from
opening.
yesterday is the first game for the Kings. I think I saw on
How
Twitter.
about
So
that?
there you go.
Yeah.
Inside 30 days.
Yeah. Jerry, what actually gets accomplished at camp? I guess it depends on the team and where they are, but from your experience, what actually do teams try and hope and maybe even actually do accomplish during camp?
Yeah, it's so different. You know, obviously the veteran teams, if you're probably the Golden State Warriors, Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, they've got their key guys in place. So you're really hoping to find out maybe somebody that could work into your rotation at best, fill out your roster. You know, you're bringing in, you always bring in a bunch of guys, 20 guys or more into camp, and so you're looking for guys that could, by the end of camp, say make your roster. You got 3 or 4 guys you're probably looking at for that last spot or two, and maybe of guys you've drafted or signed in the offseason, which ones might fit into your rotation.
Because you might need them at some point, right? We as fans look at the end of the bench like, yeah. But given how long the season is and injuries, you may actually need some.
And you know, and with the G League and the 2-way contracts, you know, that's gotten a little more important because certainly I think teams are using that better, where they're putting guys down that they really do like, that they can play, and I think makes perfect sense. You know, it's more like the AAA baseball kind of thing. So
Jerry doesn't like baseball anymore.
No, well, we're trying to get him back in. We're going to work on that all year.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to keep working.
Okay.
But anyway, and then, of course, camp is so different. I mean, and, of course, being older than dirt, I remember – you know how it was when I came in the league, and we had 2-a-days for 2 straight weeks.
Wow,
2 straight weeks.
We don't have those anymore.
2 hours of practice.
Oh,
2.5.
At least 2 hours for each one. 2.5.
Do they even have 1-a-days for 2 straight weeks anymore?
I think 3.5 hours is the most you can practice, and so if you go 2-a-days, you know, you're going to have an hour. And I mean, and I always say it's like nowadays, it's like, well, if you do 2, you probably have one practice is 90% stretching. Mm-hmm. Guys will stretch.
Which is important,
forever. And then some shooting.
You just stretch there, too. That's
I had to because it's important for us. That's why you said that.
Skill drills.
I didn't when I got here.
So it's so different. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think there's probably a middle ground in there. To me, they don't practice enough today. You know, it's probably the collective bargaining thing, but in the old days it was too much.
Yeah.
Because that goes back, and I think to even before I got in the league in 85, 86, that players really came in because they had other jobs and everything. The money wasn't very good, and so they had to use camp to get in shape.
Yeah.
I always remember, you know, Bill Russell and Willis Reed and guys tell me that. Well, yeah, you find something to do in the off season. And so you didn't really play basketball like they do now. You didn't have trainers and workout facilities,
nutritionists, and all that stuff.
So you use camp to get in shape, and so you needed that extra time.
Well, how do you prioritize as a coach? We know that NBA teams don't have enough time to practice. So when you do practice, how do you know what to work on? When you can't work on all the things, do you focus on what's coming up opponent-wise, or some things that the team has been lacking? I'm sure it depends on circumstances like how many days off before the next game, but how do you figure out what to focus on as a coach when you never have enough time to practice?
Well, I do think this, in the pros, certainly as far as skill work, guys can work out as much as they want, and you have plenty of guys that'll work with them. So I always get a kick out of coaches and players say, well, boy, in the off season he'll work on this. It's like, well, why don't he work on it now? You gotta
work on his shooting in the off season. Yeah,
you got a damn gym that's open 24 hours
and
a
you
day.
can go in whenever you want.
Sure.
Whenever you
I mean,
want.
that's,
Someone will
to me,
rebound
that's
for
a
you.
Cop out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, work on that in the off season. Well, that don't do you much good right now when you got 70 games to go.
That's a good
you
point.
might develop that impossible skill here in the next week or two. But having said that, I mean, I think I think what you do, I mean, when you got limited practice time and especially more in today's game, it's got to be a point of emphasis. You're playing a particular team, and so you get selective. I mean, to me, it's I go back to the old Dean Smith rule, which I thought the world of him. Got to know him a little bit, and he'd always talk about that in his practices. Rather than have longer practices, he'd try to have shorter ones and with a real point of emphasis. We're going to work on screen assists,
which was 3 times a week. Yeah,
or we're really going to work on the half court offense.
He had Eric Montrose, so
or transition offense. I mean, in other words, a specific thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, it makes a lot of sense rather than trying to work on 7 or 8 things
and accomplish nothing.
Yeah. Just get good at something. Maybe sideline out of bounds or baseline out of bounds and that type thing. And I think, I think probably most NBA teams do a little more of that, and they should probably even get better at that. Say we're gonna. We need to be really good in our half-court offense down the stretch of games or something. So we're really going to spend our time on that.
Well, when the season's going on and you have to prepare for games, I understand that. But when you're in right now, like you're going to camp, is that when you kind of like try to establish a philosophy or a vision or something? And we talk about, well, the Kings have to go to camp, they have to work on defense. I mean, obviously it's not that simple, but is that something you go in with a mindset in training camp and try to set goals or set, priorities for the team?
Yeah, I think, if you're Mike Brown with the Kings, and certainly you've been hired kind of as much as anything to make the team better defensively. That's been your reputation, and I think a lot of the guys that he's encouraged the team to sign are basically guys he knows that have a lot of defensive background and effort and toughness and all that. And so, I think, okay, then you carry that day one practice.
Right.
And I think, emphasize that probably more than anything.
And hope it sticks and hope the players at some point
and hope, and you kind of build on that. I mean, you can how you put your offense in or overall defensive schemes but I couldn't agree more with Phantom on that. I mean, I think you have to
really
start to, start.
I don't know why that surprises you constantly. I mean,
it's because you look like Del Crandall today.
And I think
your hat back.
I love Del Crandall.
And I think, if Phantom were there, he'd call Mike and say, "Come over here."
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen. I would just go beckon to him. Yeah.
Doesn't he look a little like the old Braves catcher Del Crandall?
Del Crandall,
yeah. Del. Well, that was one of my heroes. Now, see, I was a Milwaukee Brave fan.
Oh, okay. All right.
When he liked baseball,
My first game I ever saw was Chicago Cubs 1954 against the Milwaukee Braves. Hank Aaron was a rookie.
Wow.
Eddie Matthews was a star. Had Warren Spahn, Lou Purdette.
Joe Adcock on that team? Yeah. Joe Adcock?
Johnny. Huh?
Joe Adcock on that team? First baseman? Joe Adcock. Come on.
Joe Adcock,
yeah.
Yeah. Johnny Logan. I mean, and my dad was a big Cubs fan, which is why I became a Braves fan, because I couldn't do what
you were like that.
And he idolized Hank Sauer.
Sure.
Who was a star. That's Ernie Banks was, I think, a rookie that year.
I was going to ask you about Ernie Banks.
Ernie Banks and Gene Baker with a combo.
See how he just lights up when he
Banks
talks
and
about the old days of baseball.
This is 1954 baseball.
I was a huge baseball. Huge baseball. Memorized all the stats and everything for years.
Yeah.
Years. But anyway.
Yeah. Now the stats are all different. So OPS plus and
everything's at a plus at the end and capitals and small letters. Who knows?
To me, where you can really tell NBA teams don't practice enough. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. But see what you guys think. You're watching a game, and then in the middle of the game, somebody starts playing zone. And some NBA teams who've played, these guys played basketball their whole lives. Sometimes NBA teams see a zone, and for the first couple possessions, it's like they've never seen one before. Right? Isn't that funny the way that happens at the highest level? Just that little bit of change of pace. It's like, we don't know what to do.
You have the audacity to change your defense on us? Come on.
Yeah, especially with players that most of them played in college and certainly in high school. Where
they did.
Played predominantly a lot of zone.
They've seen a zone before. Yes, well said.
I've always, and it's amazing too. It's like, okay, it's a zone. Okay, now you only got 24 seconds, so that makes a zone, I think, somewhat effective in the pro game. I'm surprised they didn't use more for that very reason, tempo change or something. But it's like any two passes, if you get the ball to the middle, by dribble or pass, and then another quick pass, you're starting to break it down, But you got to move. But it's it's the same old thing though. The guy will throw it to somebody, and then he's got to massage it, do something with it.
Give the defense time to get.
Then the ball moves
against the zone.
And the zone doesn't have to move.
Yeah, you're sitting there looking. I'm in my triple threat. And you're like, come on, I'm going to drive in. Well, no, they're standing in their spot.
It's a zone.
Come on.
So it don't work then.
No, just
move
pass
the damn ball
quickly. Pass it quickly.
Yeah, a lot of times you get it to the foul line, you got a man advantage, right? If you can get the ball to the foul line, so that's
always said. I used to coach a lot of matchup zone in college, and I mean that's what you really focus on. Keep the ball out of the high post.
Yeah, defensively.
If you want to go around the perimeter, you can go around the perimeter, but we're not going to let you get the ball in the high post or low post.
Yeah, when I went to SF State, I didn't play, but watching the men's team there, they played a matchup zone, and they used to shut people down. It's like because it's a combo defense, right? A matchup zone, and when it's played right, and I know it's difficult with all the rules on cutters and things, but I've seen a matchup zone just shut teams down because you can't figure it out because it's a little bit everything.
Well, too, and a lot of times too. Teams will pick up on a zone. They'll say, "Well, send a cutter through," and if a guy goes through, it's a man. So a lot of times, I'd kind of screw with the rules a little bit. And I'd say, "Okay, first, you go with the first guy through,
right,
and then get back into the zone."
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So you're changing your defense every time. I like that. Yeah. As a coach, he knows what he's doing.
Well, I used to win in college. The Kings brought me to my knees. That's for damn sure.
That's all right.
Phantom, you probably watch Hard Knocks.
No, I don't.
Okay, you're aware of Hard Knocks.
I have watched.
You're aware of the.
I didn't watch it this season, but I watch it. Yes.
Well, we got NBA camps opening, and I think they may have dabbled in shows like this. If you could do a show about camp this year in NBA, and one team that you would want to watch, focus on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this show would probably be screen assist, right? I think it'd be great.
And we call it the screen assist.
Screen assist, sure. Yeah. I don't think that's debatable. What team are you focusing on this year? What team is the most interesting camp to watch this year?
I think it's the team that we have adopted as I think it's the Nets. I think it definitely is the Nets. I've got to see what goes on with all of our guys coming back and everything, and who's playing and who's not playing. And if it is really a Hard Knocks behind the scenes, I want to see the conversations that are going on. I want to see people trying to get on the same page and try to get everybody going. So I would totally be the Nets for me.
How about you, sir?
I think it'd probably be the Nets, maybe Cleveland Cavaliers second for different reasons. The Cavs just because I think they could really be interesting. But I mean I think on the the drama.
Yeah.
Basically the Brooklyn Nets are the housewives of Brooklyn.
Yes, perfect. Real housewives of the NBA. That's who you got.
Yeah. You mentioned some a few weeks ago that's going to be so interesting. We didn't really spend much time on it, but as you pointed out a couple weeks ago, Ben Simmons could be playing a lot of center for them, which makes sense. But that's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's one of those things that 20 years ago you wouldn't thought about. But I mean, we've seen some of the great teams of the last 20 years when it gets down to it play very small. I mean, Draymond Green's the best example, a 6'7" maybe guy that certainly guards most centers. So there's certainly a bigger, more athletic version of Draymond, more skilled in many ways.
Jerry invented the small center when he employed Randy Allen.
Yes, he
put
did.
him on Rick Schmidt
very effectively, I think. Yes,
I was in some ways I was ahead of my time, but clearly I was behind my time in reality to the situation. Because that was the decade of the big, huge, talented centers.
Of which you had none, right? You had big and huge. You just didn't have talent.
We had several centers, but zero in that capacity.
There you go.
Yeah.
Number 40, Randy Allen. There you go. There's your guy.
There he is.
Yeah, thank you, Stones.
Randy was.
shooting over James Worthy there.
Yeah,
Look at that.
yeah. Dominating Worthy.
Worthy couldn't handle him.
Yeah. That's the one time you'd employ Randy
Yeah,
Allen
that
against
was-
the Lakers. Yeah,
I
because
think
Worthy couldn't handle him.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah.
Randy gave you what he had.
Yeah.
Just nothing personal, Randy. You didn't have enough. That was the problem.
Made it to the NBA.
Yeah, he was in the NBA. Yeah.
The camp that I would most want to see this year, I think, I just want to see Russ and Patrick Beverly practicing against each other.
Interesting.
And see how they sort that out. And maybe they have. I know they've given indications that, okay, we're fine. We're teammates now. But I would love to see that battle because conceivably they're fighting for a starting spot.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Those two guys.
Add Dennis Schroeder to that group
Yeah,
now. They've
yeah.
added him. And so you got another little bit.
He's got a little dog in him.
Yeah, he might
Yeah.
make more sense in a
Maybe
basketball sense as far as a point guard is
Yeah,
concerned.
no,
he
he's
might
more
make
of a
more sense than the
natural-
other two. Yeah.
He's actually more of a natural point guard than either one of those guys, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But I hated to see him added because he didn't
Jerry
have a
would like
good
the
year
Lakers.
last year, but he's a good player.
He doesn't
Yeah,
like
but he's
the
going to
Lakers.
cause more dissension now, Jerry, because
Yeah, I
you've
hope
got Patrick Beverly and Westbrook,
Yeah,
and now
I
you
was
put in
gonna
a guy
say.
who can challenge them. It's going to blow him up. Don't worry, you're going to be fine.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be just
Yeah,
fine.
I'm always just
And
scared.
you're Laker
you know?
hating and you're Nick hating. I know that comes into it too.
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. Those. Yeah, as long as the Knicks are bad and the Lakers are bad,
Then you're happy.
Jerry's
man.
happy.
there'll be some joy in the Reynolds home.
Yeah. You know what would make me happy? Did we ever find out if Larry's getting any money for those shirts?
Oh,
I did.
geez, come on.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah?
No, I believe it or not, I've texted him a couple times, but that did not come up.
Oh, okay. Well, not yet.
He's really upset
He's
about that.
he really a
Did you just
troublemaker,
send him a
isn't he?
check for $14.95? Is that something you could do?
I'm worried.
And then
I just
CC it to Whitey. Yeah.
And my wife and son wonder why we pick on him.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a question. NBA.com had this question today. They asked a bunch of experts. I didn't have time to read their answers, but I thought it was a fascinating question.
That's incredible.
Who's going to have a bigger impact with his new team? John Wall with the Clippers or Patrick Beverly with the Lakers in LA this year?
I think hopefully John Wall, because I'd like to see John Wall get back to playing like John Wall can play. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, I think. He won't be 100% of the speed of John Wall, but he can be effective even without that, and he can really help the Clippers. And since I hate the Lakers as well, I think I want the Clippers to be good. So, yeah, I think John Wall for sure.
So says Joe Adcock. What
Joe
do you say?
Adcock,
Or, sorry,
first
Dale
baseman.
Crandall. Dale Crandall.
Dale Crandall's the catcher.
Yeah.
Joe Adcock was first
Dale
base.
Crandall,
Yeah,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But
No, you're 54 Braves, will you?
My bad.
yeah, come on.
No wonder you guys pick on me.
Welcome. No, you don't know baseball like we do.
I think Bob Uecker was even on that team. I don't think.
There you go.
So
Behind Dale Crandall, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think John Wall. I mean, he's far more talented than Patrick. And credit to Patrick Beverly, he's had a trim. He's figured out a lane.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's
And,
carved
about
out
getting
his
what you want,
yeah.
and it's worked for him. It's a little bit like, to me, like a better version of Draymond Green or Rodman, guys that find their okay. I can have a career this way.
Don't you think Minnesota, there's a chance they really miss what he brought them last year?
I do. I think they will. I'll be honest. I mean, he's one of those kind of players that you're glad you got, but over a period of time it wears out.
Yeah,
you know?
you're sorry you have.
I mean,
after
I
a
kind
while,
of think
yeah.
it's a little bit like probably Jay Crowder. We're seeing is available. He's a very good player, and
He's a
he's
tough
been
buckaroo, as you have pointed out.
and he's been good wherever he's been and impacted them and helped them. But they're always looking for somebody better and different, and they may not find that. They may find somebody different, but maybe not better.
Yeah, I am not a Patrick Beverly fan, but I think he's one of those guys you'd love to have on your side,
Right.
and then you'd hate him when he's on the other team.
Is there as many of those kind of guys as there used to be? One of those guys that you want. He's got the dog in him, or whatever you want to say. But it seems like teams are always looking for one, especially a team like a Kings, a younger team or a team that hasn't gelled yet. Everybody thinks, well, they need the one guy who goes in there and kicks some butt, like a Jimmy Butler. Obviously, not as talented as Jimmy Butler. You wouldn't, but still, are there not as many guys like that around?
Oh, I don't think so at all. I think you're right. I mean, and I think I know why, because anymore the NBA has become one big club. I mean, it's kind of the player association. It's like we're all one big happy family.
We're pulling
And
together,
so,
yeah.
So a guy that's always instigating stuff with his brothers, that
Like
sort
you
of
guys,
thing. I
yeah.
mean,
We have a target that's pretty
used
easy.
Used
yeah.
to. I mean, you'd probably every team had a guy like
Yeah,
that. It would
exactly.
just be, an instigator, a little bit of a troublemaker, things like that. And so Patrick Beverly stands out a lot more today than he would have 30 years ago.
Rick Mahorn comes to mind. One of those guys, right?
Ooh, yeah. Jeff Ruland, of course, Bill Lambier.
What about Danny Ainge?
Danny Ainge was an instigator.
Well, he was a guy. Well, he was one of those guys that you loved him if he was on your team.
Oh yeah,
but you hated him when he was on every other team.
On the other team. So yeah, about every team had somebody.
Wasn't Anthony Mason kind of one of those guys?
Oh
too?
yeah, very intimidating guy. What was his name? Shelton.
Lonnie Shelton.
Lonnie Shelton.
Those are all big guys too.
Yeah,
I mean they were enforcer types, Maurice Lucas types. Yeah,
that was always one of those Larry Bird stories too about Lonnie Shelton. Told me he said McHale was guarding Shelton and said just kicking his butt. And timeout, and he asked Kevin. He said, I had to ask Kevin. He said, Kevin, what's wrong with you? Are you scared of that guy? He said, Kevin told him, he said, yeah, I am. And he said, why don't you guard him? Larry said, no, I'm scared of him too. I just wanted to check to see if you were.
Yeah, you were doing. Wanted to check in with you, Kevin. Take your temperature.
I always say that's what a lot of fans don't realize is it's not all that different from the playgrounds. There's always guys you just don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
You just want to avoid if you can.
Yeah. Have somebody else take them. You take them. That's okay. Yeah.
I remember.
Well, that's like Ron Artest.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I mean, nobody in the league wanted to play against Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Because they were half scared of him, and then plus he was, they ought to be scared.
Yeah,
I mean,
he didn't break Michael's ribs like in the off season when Michael was planning one of his second comeback or whatever, and they're playing pickup, and Artest broke his ribs.
Yeah. No, he was fearless and fearful.
Tough and good and just a little crazy.
He was probably really, when you think about it, I don't know that the Kings have ever had a defensive player better than he is.
Oh, man.
Or was.
Doug Christie's the only one that comes to mind, perhaps, and he didn't have the physicality, did he?
Yeah, I mean, Doug was probably maybe more consistent, but I don't know if he could affect a game as much as Ron did. Because when they traded for Ron, the team was bad and became pretty good.
Yeah, they went on that run.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, he's a strange buckaroo. There's no doubt about that. but the guy,
a strange buckaroo.
The guy was a baller.
Yeah, he brought it. Yeah.
I got to ask you guys something. I think we're going to disagree on this.
Jeez. Maybe you better rethink it then.
We didn't touch on last week, but it's been in the news lately. NBA news. Not the play-in tournament, but the in-season tournament. The commissioner, I think Commissioner Silver, this is his baby. He's going to do whatever he can. I think this is part of his legacy. He wants to make sure that we get this. We may get it as soon as, I think, next season, an in-season tournament, which in some ways, Stones is shaking his head, so I'm outnumbered
he's old
here.
School, yeah.
So in some ways it mirrors what you have in European soccer, and I think European basketball has the same thing. What do you guys think of the possibility of this actually working and being worthwhile, the NBA in-season tournament?
Well, you broached the subject to me last week, so I actually did a little bit of research on it, surprisingly. I don't have a problem with the whole concept of it because it seems like they could put it pretty seamlessly into the schedule, so it wouldn't be a big problem. But what's the point of it? I don't understand the point. Is it so that players will play early games and won't sit them out? Is that the point? What's the point of winning the in-season tournament? I don't get the gravity of the whole thing. They can do it. It's just another ball in the air. But I just don't understand what the point is.
I think the point is, whether it's a good point or not, is you have, say, pick two teams that you wouldn't normally have much interest in watching.
Well, the Kings, obviously, and the Hornets. Kings and the Hornets.
So you got wow.
I'm just saying two teams. It's not. I like the Hornets. They've got one of the Bridges. I love Bridges.
Does he know who's on these teams?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you pick two teams.
We'll go with those two teams.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't normally care.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah.
The idea is, rightly or wrongly, that if they're playing in November, not only are they playing, where it'd be like, this is game whatever, 17, whatever.
Right.
Ooh, this is a tournament game. So I think what they're trying to do is make some of these early season matchups more meaningful, and they're trying to do something to prevent Stone shaking his head again.
It's meaningful to the players or to the fans?
Both, mostly to the audience, I think.
Okay.
But obviously, if the players don't buy in, no one's going to care.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't.
You don't-
I
you're
don't
not-
see the point.
Wow.
That looks. That's our meme or whatever. There you go, right there.
You're not a big fan, huh?
Remember we're called the old-fashioned three.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Yes,
And so I am.
you're squarely in that demo.
The only
Yes.
thing I say, Adam Silver, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. You know.
Okay.
You know. I mean, I know. If you think that's what you need for this league to continue to grow, you need to find something else. I don't know what it is, but I mean, if the regular season is that boring and that bad, then shorten the damn thing.
Yeah.
Don't put. Yeah.
But I mean, I would have about as much interest in that right now as I do the All-Star game, which is zero. I mean, they could have the All-Star game on my cul-de-sac, and I would not watch it.
They couldn't play there
Yeah.
because you have your damn
Well, it's slanted.
crepe myrtle.
It's
and then
slanted.
you got too many leaves out there.
But most of the guys would go.
Well, they clean it up.
Go
Come on.
downhill on.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're
go
right.
Downhill on offense.
It was
You're
an
right.
uneven street, so yeah. Well, they don't play defense
I'd
half the
just
time
pull the
anyway.
blinds. I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
watch it.
Well, I believe Mark Cuban has indicated that he's not sure his team will be participating
Well,
in
then
it.
there you go.
In which case you've got nothing. But I think the idea is most of the games would be you're playing them anyway. It's
Right,
a
no.
regular season game.
It's in the
However,
schedule,
it's
yeah.
also part of the tournament. There would only be maybe only one game that's outside of the regular season.
Yeah,
Well,
that's if the-
great. Then let's have 5 tournaments. Just
Yeah.
have tournaments. Start of the year.
Yeah.
Start the season tournament.
Yeah.
And then middle of the middle.
Yeah.
year.
So
Tournament.
every month
And
have a November
have another-
tournament,
yeah.
and a December tournament, and a January
Yeah,
tournament.
and instead of trophies, for winning, we'll just call them participation trophies, which
Yeah.
is basically
All right. Yeah. Okay.
what
Yeah.
we're getting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Jerry likes it.
No, I don't know what's in it for
No,
the. I don't really know what's in it
I
for the
might
players.
get back to baseball if that. I might.
That's a great idea.
Well, I
Bring
might-
Jerry back
I
to
might-
baseball.
I might get-
Here's what the commissioner would say to that if he were here. He'd say, look, people didn't like the in-season tournament, and it's been successful. Now,
You mean
it's
the
too-
play-in tournament?
Yeah, I'm
play-
sorry.
yeah.
Thank you. The play-in tournament. Thank you for correcting me. People didn't like the play-in tournament, and look, it's very successful. So you've just got to be open-minded, Jerry. That's
Yeah,
what the
Jerry.
commissioner would say.
Well, I would say, Commissioner Silver, I've never been open-minded.
Yeah,
So
it's not going to start now. Yeah,
Let's close that door
Yeah.
right now. And you're right about this. I did not like to play in and I sort of enjoy it now. But I'd be happy if they eliminated it. I got no problem with it. I
Okay.
mean, 16 out of 30 teams make the playoffs.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I could adjust back, and I think 90% of the fans would adjust, or 95% probably would adjust to it. I mean, I think as fans we like basketball, so it's another game that means something.
There you go.
It
It's
is
got
a game
stakes.
that
It's
means
got
something.
stakes.
That's what we're
Yeah.
trying. That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to do with the in-season.
And
But
that
you
would
can
be a
never do
failure.
that. You can never make a game in late November mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything other than being a game on the way to the playoffs that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, you know something, the Silver Cup. We're playing Silver Cup games right now, and your team won the Silver Cup this year.
You know, it'd be seriously, and they're also, as you guys know, they're trying to make money. It'd be the Amazon Cup. They get money from or whoever. We're
Yeah.
playing for
No,
the
you're right.
Amazon
Yeah,
Cup.
yeah. You're right.
That way we get more money coming in. So that's the idea. If we're not going to do that, then Jerry, what do we do to deal with this issue of having so many games early in the year that people don't care about? They're not getting TV ratings, and the players aren't even playing in.
That's it right
what
there.
do I do?
Well, that's the bigger problem, the games that players aren't playing in, because I think most fans, even for games, I can just speak from my own experience because I love the game, but if Kawhi Leonard's playing, I want to watch him play.
Right.
If he's not playing, then I have very little interest in the Clippers per se.
Yeah.
So if the stars are playing, I think even when the teams aren't good, I think most, because it's a star-driven league, and so if some way or another you can eliminate the load management, all this jibber jabber that didn't used to happen. I mean, Michael was pretty good at actually playing about every game he could play.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player too.
Yeah,
So
he turned
Kareem
out quite
actually
well.
was really
and
good. He
competed on
played
a regular basis. and
played a lot.
Jabbar and Russell.
Yeah,
and
Magic.
guys
Yeah.
like that, and Magic, and those guys would play whenever they could because they felt an obligation. It kind of goes back. This is old-fashioned, an old-fashioned three.
Sure.
But they sign a contract based on 82 games, and when they're suspended or something, they get fined based on 182nd.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get paid on 60. You know.
Yeah.
They get paid on 82. So
You're-
there should be. If I'm a player, I say, I mean, the coach is paid on 82. He trots his wrinkled butt out there.
He could use some load management occasionally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even mental
Yeah.
health wise, he
Yeah.
could take a game or two off during the year.
Of course you're right, but of course this is also true. That's never going to happen. They're never going back to that. It'd be great if they could,
But if they're
you know
gonna-
it's not happening.
But if they're going to try to rectify that situation you're talking about, that's the one thing they can do to get people more interested in a November game between Orlando and and Portland is go ahead and make sure that Lillard is playing and everybody is playing. That's the way you get people to
He's
watch
play-
it.
Yeah, he's playing if he's physically
Yeah,
capable
if he's not
of playing.
injured,
Now,
obviously.
for years we had, basically ways around it where a guy would say flu-like symptoms, a back problem.
Oh, you can't-
And now
can't mess
some
with
of that's
those, yeah.
true, but flu-like symptoms isn't the flu.
Right,
You're
right.
not
Especially
feeling
these
very
days, it's not. No,
good. A
absolutely.
little tired today. That's a flu-like symptom.
Yeah, and we're in Miami Beach. Yeah, it was an overnight
I got
Miami.
drunk last night.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I'm saying, to me, I think you could solve a lot of that is because, you don't want players to play if they're hurt. Have, with the money the league has, if you can hire all the people they have in the front office, have a couple of doctors, legitimate doctors that goes around that work for the league, not for the teams.
Well, what's the union going to say about that, Jer?
Well, the union ought to be in favor of it because the union, this is their product.
Yeah.
And their product is getting hammered on a consistent basis.
it's getting watered down.
If I was a union head, I would want to take that on with the players. Say, hey guys, you're the product. You want the money, and we want you to have as much as you can. But this thing is not going well with the people paying the freight. And if you can play, and you're obligated to play, realize that you over an 82 game schedule, you can get a sprained ankle, you can get the flu, but we want to make sure that's exactly what it is.
I haven't convinced
Just
you.
in fairness.
Haven't
I don't think
convinced
so.
you, have I? That the NCAA.
So, are you for this tournament then, or are
I've
you
gotten
just
to the
taking a
point.
contrary
Obviously,
position here?
coming as Jerry points out, old-fashioned 3. Starting at that point, I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking now it might be worth a try. However, I think it has zero chance to succeed.
So
That is,
basically,
the players are not going to be on. There's no
Exactly.
reason why the players are going to
There's
want to
no
do it.
reason for them to do it.
it's a great point. So it's an old-fashioned 2
Yeah.
plus
Plus
1.
variety, who's trying to be modern and stuff. Yeah. I side with the players all the time. Yeah.
You got that out there, old-fashioned 2 plus.
Yeah, he's still worried about Larry Bird's commission on the
geez.
T-shirt. Yeah,
It's like the old 2 shots plus the penalty.
yeah.
2 plus 1.
3 to make 2.
3 to make
2, yeah.
3 to make 2 or 2 to
7
make
to make
1.
5,
Yeah.
whatever.
Didn't they used to have in the NBA a rule? I remember when I was a kid, the force out.
Yeah.
So like if I'm dribbling
Yeah.
up the sidelines and you bump me out of bounds, it's not a foul. It's a force
It's a
out.
force out.
And then
Yeah,
I just take
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
And we had backcourt fouls. Remember backcourt fouls
yeah.
were great. Yeah, 2 shots for a backcourt foul. That was
Well, I'll
great.
tell you one of the rules I think is silly when you think about it is late in the game where you can call timeout and advance the ball.
yeah.
I mean, there's no reason you should,
I know.
should
I know.
be given
Yeah,
half the
it
floor.
makes it a better game to watch.
It's just showbiz.
better
That's
to
all it
watch.
is.
So we
They
get it
do it.
closer to the basket, so
But-
you can watch. You'll still watch. Yeah,
But I mean, that's where I like the college game better. It's like, well, at least you have to
yeah.
earn the floor.
The
so to
60
speak,
feet
you
they're
know?
giving you. Yeah, they're just giving it to you
Well,
free.
that'd be like in football. Okay, we're on the 30-yard line. Let's call timeout, and then we get on the other 30.
That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea right there. I know we're old-fashioned, Jerry, but that
Well,
is
maybe
not a
onto
bad
something,
idea.
yeah.
That'll
Now
be in
that I
the
think
NFL
about it.
within 5 years. They'll be actually doing that.
Call it the Reynolds rule.
Yeah.
Rule.
Yeah. Can we ask you what you think of this? Speaking of CBA matters, the union looks like in the next CBA that the legal draft age is going to be 18. It's going to go down to 18. That's not confirmed yet, but it's been reported. So 19 now. It's going to go to 18.
Yeah, so it's
Is
forget
this-
college, it's high school to the pros
is this
now.
good? Is this the way it should be? Is it terrible? The end of college basketball as we know it? How are you feeling about that?
Well, I don't have biggest problem with that is for years we let high school players come into the league, and the one and done thing is really hasn't served anybody very well.
Right.
I mean, I think we'll get back to some 18-year-olds coming directly in the league that aren't ready.
Yeah.
Just like we have 19-year-olds coming into the league not ready. But
I'm okay with it.
But I am too, actually, because it's like, well, in tennis and golf and other sports, if you're good enough, you got the chance to compete.
Even younger. And in Europe, like Luka was playing when he was 15 or something.
Well, I think, Pedro was a professional at 16 or something like that, and Luka. I mean, so it was different. I wish, that players would be a little better prepared mentally and age-wise and mature-wise. I think that would benefit them. I don't think it hurt Bill Walton or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Bill Russell or Oscar those
Tim
kind
Duncan,
of guys by playing 4 years in college or at least 3 years in college like Jordan did. But it is what it is. The money is what it is. Of course, I think the way the thing is starting to work out in college now, they may get able to get paid more.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's like in football. It's like, well, unless you're a first-round pick, why would you want to?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to go to college first?
Mm-hmm. There's going to be that double draft phantom, conceivably.
Yeah, that's
2023.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Two different classes are available at the same time.
Yeah, the first year you'd have the 18-year-old, you'd have a double draft.
Yeah. I mean, that one and done thing, though, I mean, all they had to do is go to college for like a half a quarter or something, and just to show they're in class, and then by the time the semester hits, they're not going to class anymore anyway because they're going pro.
That one and done is
it didn't make any sense. But
Clearly,
like Jerry
guys,
says, with the NIL now, you can go to college and make yourself a nice little nest egg and stuff, and hopefully just gain a little life experience and get a little more, ready to go to the real life. Because out of high school, you're not ready.
Take a guy like Bronny James. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, if he's a top 20 or 30 player, I mean, who does for sure? But let's say he goes to Ohio State or Kentucky or wherever. Well, I mean, just because of who he is and his father and the whole bit, I mean, I guarantee you, with somebody he'll probably get $1 million a year to go to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably worth. In reality, to his draft status, that may be more than he'd be worth in the NBA.
Absolutely,
So, I don't know. It's a. At some point, the best players will play.
Yeah, that's why I'm with you. It just seems very American to me. If you're good enough, you have a shot.
Yeah, in
play.
basketball,
we'll draft you.
Not in football. I don't want to see that in football. You can't go high school to the pros in football, but basketball.
I think the injury thing in football is an 18-year-old guy.
It doesn't matter how big you are. You're you're not a man yet.
Yeah, we put pads on them.
Yeah, put pads on him and then take him to the hospital because after two practices,
pat him up and concuss him.
Pat him up and then cart him off.
So you're okay with it? I thought you being more of a traditional college basketball guy.
No, I am a college basketball guy, but I mean, the one and done thing has kind of taken some of the wind out of those sails anyway. And yeah, you're right. I mean, if you can go to the pros, and not many, I know we talk about all the great ones, Kevin Garnett and Kobe and Tracy McGrady and stuff, but there's a lot of them that fell through the cracks too, or had decent careers, but maybe would have benefited from going to college. So it doesn't always work out. But
that happens to guys that
it happens. It happens
4 years of college.
So I don't see any. I mean, like I say, if there's one of the big three sports that they're ready to go after high school, it would be basketball. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the thing too, I always say, two people, with the like guys you mentioned, it's like with Kobe and Garnett and McGrady, great players.
Yeah.
And they weren't ready first year. They really weren't ready second. It was about the third year before.
Yeah.
Now, the only exception to that is
LeBron. Yeah, LeBron.
But he's excepted every rule. I mean, like I say, I always say you could go back. I'm confident that Oscar Robertson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain could have came right out of high school and been stars or near stars.
Abdul-Jabbar couldn't even play as a freshman.
He could play as a freshman. He played on the freshman team.
Yeah, he couldn't play varsity as a freshman.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I think we solved that.
Yep.
Even as the old-fashioned three.
Yeah.
No problem. Am I back in? Am I part of the old-fashioned three again? Or?
Old-fashioned 2 plus him? Is that what we're saying?
Let's give it a little more time.
Yeah, let's really let it percolate for a while.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Lost
all right.
a little status.
I'm going to see if I can get back in your good graces here with my B player because we're doing old-fashioned 3 players of all time from A to Z.
Okay.
Last week we did an A.
That's
and this
right.
is for any reason you can name a player. You had
Abdel Nabi.
Nabi,
So we can get some stories about
Randy
him.
Allen, and I had Kyle Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah. So today we got B. You want to go first on your?
I'll go first.
B
You
player?
go first. Well, I want to go first. I got two I want to put out there if I can. One of them because we need to acknowledge him, and that's Elgin Baylor. So,
Very good. See, I was going to go there, trying to get back in your graces.
One of the greatest of all time.
Stole my guy.
Kind of the guy who doesn't get talked about as much because he did play, in the 60s primarily, but he's like a Frank Robinson in baseball. Just an all-time great player. It just never gets mentioned anymore. So I wanted to put Elgin Baylor out there. But the one I wanted to throw out there is the one.
Wait. How many do you have?
I have two. Well, actually, I have three, but I'm not going to say the third one yet. The one I wanted to put out there is.
Plus, you stole my guy, and that's not even your guy.
Okay, I'll tell you something. You can have him back. You talk about him, and I'll talk about the guy that when we first had the Kings in Sacramento, when I'm a season ticket holder, Jerry's with the team. I'm watching the teams. We're watching all the great Michael Jordan come through and Dominique come through. And there were a couple of teams even then that I hated, and the Jazz were one of them. But there was one guy I liked, and it was Thurl Bailey. About 6'11", kind of a stretch four in a way.
NC State,
Thurl
right?
Bailey, yeah. They had Malone and Stockton. I didn't care for Malone too much, but I was like Thurl Bailey, and I wondered if, Jerry, if you had any insights on Thurl Bailey.
Well, I know he's got a great deep voice on
Okay,
TV
well, of course
and
there's that,
stuff,
yeah.
but no, he was. But your point is a really good one. I mean, he was kind of ahead of his time as a stretch four.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't have a post game at all. And, of course, he didn't need one because Karl Malone had enough post game for everybody.
Yeah, and Mark Eaton was in there, too. There was a lot of room.
He didn't have any kind of offensive game. But
no, not at all.
But you had to guard him because of the rules of the time.
That was what
Mark
you had to
stand
do.
out there and you had to guard him. But anyway, Thurl, could spot shoot the deep ball. I mean, he didn't shoot threes, but he could have. I think he had that type stroke at that time. But very good player, fit very well.
Yeah, 6'11".
Didn't he play with Ricky Green, too, on those Jazz teams?
Yeah, Ricky was before.
really
and
good
Thurl
player,
was,
yeah.
of course, North Carolina State.
Yeah.
Came in the league in '84, I think. So
that's a good name. But Thurl, good guy. I've talked to him a few times. I mean, I think he was a good teammate. Really good career.
Yeah, real, not a Hall of Famer, but a really good career.
Good career.
Yeah, and I could say a little bit of a stretch four at 6'11"
How
back
do
in
you
the
go
mid-'80s.
Elgin Baylor to Thurl Bailey?
Because Elgin Baylor's an all-time great, and I wanted to get someone to relate to that was Kings related, and talk with Jerry about it. If you don't want to join our conversations, that's fine.
By the way, your guy Oscar Robertson says that Elgin Baylor says nobody today. You couldn't guard. Nobody could guard him then. Nobody could guard him now.
Can't guard him.
Yeah,
Never could.
I'm glad you brought him up because he's a guy that, I don't remember seeing him play. I know Elgin Baylor, but he's one of those guys who's just on the edge of my basketball consciousness. But wasn't he part of maybe the first branch in the evolution of the modern small forward?
I think he was the start.
I think. And of course, he played a lot of forward too. He was one of the best rebounders in the league.
Yeah.
Even his size. I mean, so it was a little bit of a 3-4, really. Offensively, a 3 more of a 4 defensively, rebounding wise.
I think he was the first guy to score 70?
80, I think, didn't he?
Okay.
Did he score 80?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think he did.
Back in that 62 season,
70.
in 62, when Wilt had the 50 points and Oscar had the triple-double, I think he averaged like 37 a game.
Yeah, he had
37 and a half a game.
38 points
so
a game.
He's out there. I'm not even getting in the top 2 in the MVP. I'm throwing up 37 and probably 37-18 or something like that. Because, like you say, incredible rebounder.
Yeah. How many more guys do you have here?
I have a couple of more, but I want to let you guys get.
You want to
involved
go,
too.
or you want me to go?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to see if you guys can guess who my guy is before I get to his name, because he's a guy that I think is largely forgotten. Drafted out of high school, okay? I think he was a 10th pick. Played on he was a legitimate contributor to a back-to-back champions.
Ooh.
He was an all-star, and he got hurt, and then he's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, and he averaged like 15 and 8 on playing about 30 minutes a game. Andrew Bynum. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was a really good player.
Looked like he was really, and he got the big deal, from Philly or somebody. And, but he got hurt
his knee. Yeah, and he would play about 29 minutes a game on the Laker teams. Won back-to-back championships. He fouled a lot, and he turned the ball over a lot. But for a guy that came out of high school as a 10th pick, he was really good, but just then he was
had
done.
that little span. Yeah. Very athletic.
Yeah.
Really a terrific pick by Mitch Kupchak, who I think is really an underrated general manager.
Yeah, because him, people say, Kobe and Gasol, but Andrew Bynum was, for a brief time, was really good. And I think he ended up signing a huge deal with Philly, and it's like I don't think he ever played with Philly.
That was it.
Yeah, because of his knee issue. So I just wanted to remind everybody about Andrew Bynum, who is largely forgotten now, but for a brief period, he was a really good player.
Are you glad Jerry brings up a Laker? Is that kind of? I mean, Elgin Baylor's like an all-time great. That's
You
fine,
brought up
but he brings up Andrew Bynum, which is kind of odd. I mean, yeah, Laker lover.
Not surprising.
Not. Ouch.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what do you got for us?
Well, I got a B first name
Yeah.
and a B last name. Two different guys.
Now
Okay.
who's changing the rules? My man. I like it.
Okay. Well, you said with
Any
B.
reason.
It's just
Any-
B.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Al-Blunabi, he had a couple A's every which way.
Yeah, obviously
Yeah.
he did. He had too
Yeah.
many.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is a guy. Last name was an all-star in the ABA, an all-star in the NBA,
I
all-star.
thought I had him.
I got him.
Okay.
Zelmo Beatty?
Nope. No, I mean not to say he wasn't.
But okay, that's not your guy.
the guy.
Okay, yeah.
And he played for the Kings.
Can
He
I try?
played for the Kings.
Can I try?
I know who it is.
I
You
know.
go
I know.
ahead. I got it.
Ron Boone.
Ron Boone. Yeah.
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 No, but that would also been true.
He just changed it. I know he did.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
This is last
This
name,
is fantastic.
Yeah,
right? ABA All-Star played for the
NBA
Kings.
all-star. He also coached for the Kings.
Wow.
Huh? Well, I'm stumped here. What do we got?
Don Boozy.
Don
Oh.
Boozy.
He was an
An
all-star
old
for the
Pacer,
Indiana
the
Pacers.
Yeah. Yeah.
All-star for the Phoenix Suns.
Hmm.
Finished his career with the Kansas City Kings.
3-point shooter.
Was my first assistant on my first interim stint, and they brought him in. Terrific. Could have been a real good coach. Just wanted to go train horses and things, and that's what he
Sure.
did.
Yeah.
Welcome
Back
to the club.
Southern
Yeah.
Indiana.
Don't we all?
But basically, of course, after a half year with the Kings, probably a wise decision.
But the Kings are with you. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, he said he if it wasn't for working for me, he really enjoyed it. But that was the only negative.
After working for you, Jerry, I want to go raise
Yeah, he
horses.
said, yeah. Said,
Small point guard, good shooter, right? Kind of. Yeah.
terrific
hard-nosed.
shooter, one of those guys that great defender. Great defender. Probably second best player in Evansville University history next to Jerry Sloan.
Jerry
of
Sloan, of course.
But he led Evansville to national championships and stuff. So, yeah, Holland, Indiana, a town of high school of 110.
Wow.
And I had a guy named Gene Tarmolin, who was also an NBA player from that same place. And I always remember a story. They called Bumper, Gene Tarmolin, big guy, 6'9", 260.
I love that name, Bumper.
Tennessee.
That is
Anyway,
That's a good one.
they had a big sign out in front in Holland as you enter Holland, little town, the home of Gene Tarmolin and Don Boozy.
Oh.
And I said, man, that looks nice. And he said, yeah, it took me a long time to paint that thing.
Oh,
that
Bumper. Oh,
Yeah.
Bumper.
Yeah, he said, that's why my name's on top.
That's why you got top billing over at Don Busey. Yeah.
Sometimes it just gets down to the simple
gets down-
reasons.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you had another one. By the way,
Oh.
does Faduzzel's hometown? Do they have a home of Joe Faduzzel?
I don't know if it's Joe or
yeah.
what's the other. His brother's also
Pete.
very, Pete Faduzzel. Yeah,
Well,
which
yeah, he's
Faduzzel?
outside of Lagodi, not right in the he's kind of the suburb, Dragglesville. I
The
think.
suburb of Lagodi,
Yeah, Dragglesville.
because it's a massive metropolis. Is Lagodi?
So my first name B,
Yeah.
I think, is one of the probably 30 most dominant players in the history of the game.
I love it.
Although he's not considered that, probably most people would say 50th or 60th. Bob McAdoo.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was
your
lucky
guy.
enough to
Yeah.
coach Bob in junior college, Bobby Mack, and national championship in junior college. He goes to North Carolina, and they finished, I think, third or something in his third year. He played 2 years with us. And then Rookie of the Year, most valuable player.
Yeah, great player, great shooter.
3-time leading scorer of the league, a high of 34 points a game.
34 a game.
And led the league in rebounding as well. And then at the end of his career, played on 2 championship teams as a six-man with the Lakers.
Yeah.
And
he wouldn't have done any of that without.
No, he had fundamentally
And-
was very sound.
well, I tell you where I think we did help him, and it was not because of me, maybe in spite, but we had a center that was really good named Roy Simpson, who was drafted by the Bulls and played her mostly overseas, but we didn't need Bob to play center. Roy had the low post game, so Mac could play out
Right.
on top. and play.
So he could stretch. He was a stretch.
He was a stretch 6'10" guy before 6'10" guys were, especially in junior college. And then the second part of it was, in truth, his ball handling really was terrible when he came. He really couldn't put the ball on the floor. He could just shoot it. But we had recruited a kid named Foots Walker, Clarence Foots Walker,
Cavaliers.
And he and Foots were best buddies, still are. And they'd play one-on-one all the time. And Foots would just kick his butt every day for about a month, because every time he put the ball on the floor, Foots would steal it. But Mac finally learned. And
how did you get both those guys on a school?
Lied a lot, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, they were guys that really, Foots was just overlooked. Just major schools and things, and just overlooked him. With Mac, he wanted to go to his mother and father wanted him. They were professional people. Mac always wanted to make everybody think he came from the ghetto, but he really was. His dad was a carpenter, his mother was a teacher, and they were living a whole lot better than I was. I know that.
But you went to his house for dinner, yeah.
But anyway, his mother in particular is very strong, and she wanted him to go to North Carolina, and Greensboro, and so really it's a case of, at that time they had stringent academic rules, and Mac could get in. Didn't have bad grades. He could get in Kentucky, Louisville. He could got a lot of places, and they would have taken him. But that's where she wanted to go. So junior college was the best option. I did get help from Billy Packer, who was an assistant coach. He was assistant coach at Wake Forest. And of course, he thought, well, if I can get Mac out to Vincennes, then I can get him back at Wake. Well, by the time that he was through at Vincennes, Billy had left Wake Forest, and I think was starting to do TV then. It was, and so
it all works
but I mean, there wasn't any obligation ever. But he did. That's why he helped.
Phenomenal player, Bob.
Phenomenal. And so I went back to Carolina, and so, But that's kind of how. I mean, I know me and my wife drove down to Greensboro many times, and stayed. It wasn't the Ritz, I'll tell you that. It was
come on, Jared.
Get a bucket of chicken to last for the day. And
do you think if we approached him and asked him to come on with us, do you think there'd be a chance that he would agree to come on?
He might.
Yeah,
he might.
Give that a try.
I couldn't guarantee that. I know he still works for the Miami Heat. Does some scouting for him.
I've seen him on the sidelines. I mean, is he doing that anymore? Maybe he's not on the
sidelines. No, he's strictly scouting and stuff.
We got to get Byron Scott on. We got to get Bob McAdoo on.
Byron Scott's you. Bob McAdoo, we're all in favor of. Byron Scott's just for you. Okay?
But anyway, that's my B guy.
That's a good guy.
Gotcha.
That's a good guy.
Your B guys are definitely A guys.
They are. Definitely Bob McAdoo, yeah.
Phantom, why don't you bring us home? What's your one thing you learned today, one thing you'll always take with you from today's episode of the Old-Fashioned 3?
Before I do that, I have another B that I wanted to throw out there, and I throw them out there because you can't get through the B's without talking about Marvin Bad News Barnes.
Well, we couldn't
until you brought him up.
We actually had literally done that.
Were you okay with that?
I was
Marvin
fine.
Barnes. I mean, come on. This is a guy.
We can't get through that. We did get through it without talking about.
Okay,
go ahead.
No, in the after show we'll talk about Marvin Barnes. You're right. Okay.
What did you have on Bad News?
I just like the fact that he was in St. Louis. He was going to fly to Denver, and it was an hour flight, but they were going back and changing the time zone. And he looked at it and he goes, he was going to leave at 3:20 and arrive at 3:15. He said, "I ain't getting in no goddamn time machine," and he drove. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to get that out there. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. That was a great story.
Are we going to get flagged now for language?
Speaking of time machines, we'll never get those 3 minutes back.
Yeah.
Never will.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the Old-Fashioned 3.
Yeah. My pleasure.
We apologize.
Thank you for joining the Old-Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL, Fashioned, and the number 3, at Phantom Radio 60, and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of Stones Radio Networks.